There are special times in which the dua is more likely to be answered. A person wants to make dua all the time, and we're encouraged to do it all the time. And it can be answered all the time, but there are sometimes more likely than others. Why? So Allah can give us an encouragement and let us focus in on our energy on these times. So throughout the year, what are the times in which the dua is more likely to be answered? And in this, our methodology is to use the sound and the weak hadiths, because weak hadiths are allowed to be used in these types of things where there's no haram, no prohibitions, no obligations. And I'll point out to you which one is a weak hadith. Now, this comes from sound hadith that the dua is most mustajab more than any other time of the year in terms of the evenings on Laylat al-Qadr. This is the only one we're about to mention that is unknown. All night is unknown. It's kept secret, and we talked about it in the previous video. As for the daytime, the greatest day in which dua is answered, and it is the greatest day of the year, is the 9th of Muharram, also known as Yom Arafah, the day in which the Hujjaj are out Mount Arafah, fulfilling the pinnacle of Hajj, because that is the greatest day of the year and the doors of the heavens are open on that day. What are some of the other nights? Laylatay al-Eid, the 2 nights of Eid. The Prophet ﷺ said, and many people ignore this. They think, khalas, Ramadan is done with. And that night of the last fast, now it's the 1st of Shawwal, and everyone imagines that we're done. No, we're not. Actually, that night is a special night in which dua is answered. And also the night of the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, in which is also the night before Eid al-Kabir, Eid al-Adha. And in that case, those are the 2 nights of Eid that you have to remember. Now, also coming in sound a hadith, many Hasan hadith that gives you a meaning that is sound. Laylat al-Nisfi min Sha'ban. This evening is a special night in which dua is answered, provided you avoid a certain condition, and that is shirk, of course. A mushrik in the first place won't even be caring about dua, but also having any animosity towards another Muslim. On Laylat al-Nisfi min Sha'ban, if you read those ahadith, you see that it says that the one who has animosity towards another Muslim, his dua is not accepted. There's one that comes from a weak hadith, and that is the night before the 1st of Rajab. It comes from saying of Sayyidina Ali. It comes from other weak narrations, but nonetheless, what do we find? The action of Imam Malik himself. It's recorded that Imam Malik used to stay up not only the first night of Rajab, but the first night of every Hijri month, which you have to keep in mind, in the lunar calendar, the night comes before the day. So the first night of Rajab is not after the first day of Rajab, it's before the first day of Rajab, so that you don't get confused. So those are the sacred nights and the sacred days throughout the year. Now we go into the week. Within the week, there are 3 special times you have to take advantage of. The most special time is Asr time on Yom al-Jum'ah, between Asr and Maghrib. That's known as the Sa'al Mubarakah. The Prophet ﷺ pointed to that hour most likely being the Sa'at al-Ijaba on Yom al-Jum'ah. And there's another hour that the Prophet talked about is when the Imam ascends to the Mimbar to give the khutbah, all the way until the end of that salah, that may be Sa'at al-Ijaba. And in truth, we don't know when is the hour of answered prayers on Jum'ah, but those are the 2 most likely. So what everybody usually in Islamic societies, they kept their mind on Asr on Friday all the way to Maghrib. They always make sure to make dua and do ibadah in that time. All right, so that's one. What else during the week? Thursday evening, all of Thursday night until Fajr on Friday. Laylat al-Jum'ah has a hadith about it in which the Prophet ﷺ pointed to ijabat al-da'wah on this evening. Third one does not necessarily come from the Prophet ﷺ, rather comes from Jabir ibn Abdullah, and that is that during the Battle of al-Khandaq, the Prophet ﷺ made dua on a Monday for relief, because the Muslims were being surrounded now for 1 month, and they were exhausted, their supplies are going down, and they're extremely tired. Monday he made dua, Tuesday he made dua, Wednesday he made dua as well. And Sayyidina Jabir ibn Abdullah, who was serving the Prophet at that time, noted this, and he said the Prophet ﷺ received the good news, received the answer that his prayer has been accepted and that the enemy will be dispersed, and they could see the happiness in the Prophet's face. And Jabir ibn Abdullah said it was between the 2 prayers, meaning Dhuhr and Asr. So who extrapolated this? Jabir himself. He said, I took from that Wednesdays between Dhuhr and Asr, the du'as are answered. And as a result of that, he said, anytime that I had an issue, that I had a concern, I would flee to dua on Wednesday between Dhuhr and Asr. So that's in the week. You're going to keep in mind for Wednesday between Dhuhr and Asr, Thursday nights, Friday at the khutbah, and right before Maghrib, from Asr to Maghrib. So the 3 times that you're going to keep in mind during the week. Now, what about in the 24-hour cycle? Is there a special time? The answer is yes. There is a special time in the 24-hour cycle, which is the tahajud hour, which is the last third of the night. The night is from Maghrib to Fajr. So you calculate, let's say that's 9 hours. Then the last 3 hours of that is the time of tahajjud. Now, is dua answered in all of it, or is there a window in which it's open? Some people said the entire last third, and some said no, within the last third of the night, there is a brief window in which the dua is all answered. And that is the dominant opinion. But in order to get that, you need to be up in the last third of the night, or just part of it. Even if someone's up for 15 minutes every single night, chances are you're going to catch that hour someday. Okay, so within the 24-hour cycle, it's the last third of the night. All right, what about within the day? Within the day, the time of answered prayer happens in relation to the salah. And the Prophet ﷺ was asked, Ayyu du'a'i asma', which dua is heard most? The Prophet ﷺ said, Ad-du'a dubur as-salawat al-maktubat, meaning the dua at the end or after the obligatory prayers. It was really unknown what the Prophet meant. Did he mean at the end of the prayer, or the ending of the prayer, or after the ending of the prayer? And so the ulama were left with 2 options. So they said both. And you should do both. So before you salam out of there, many people, they do the whole salah and they salam out. You're supposed to make dua before you salam out. And when you salam out, when you sit down, you stay on your rug for a little bit, or you stay on the floor for a little bit, that dua is most answered after the salah. If you liked the video that you just watched, subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications. And if you really liked what you just saw, support us at patreon.com/Safina Society.